First thing we're going to go over is the distance formula. And so it says the distance between 2 points, point 1, which is x1, y1, and point 2, which is x2, y2, is the square root of x2 minus x1 squared. So subtract your x coordinates and square them, and then add that to subtract your y coordinates, y2 minus y1, and square that. So we're going to come back to midpoint, but in example 1, we want to find the distance in the midpoint. Let's find the distance of these, and then we'll come back and find the midpoint after that. So we have point 1 and point 2. My point 1 is x1, y1. My point 2 is x2, y2. Now that I have everything labeled, plug it into your formula. We have distance equals x2, which is 2, minus x1, which is -1. So minus a negative becomes plus 1. Then y2, which is 1, minus y1, which is 4. Okay, so we get distance equals, and this one's actually not too bad. 2 plus 1 is 3, and 3 squared is 9. 1 minus 4 is -3. -3 squared is 9, so 9 plus 9 should be the square root of 18. But if you don't want to do that by hand or in your head, just put it on your calculator. We have 2 plus 1 squared plus 1 minus 4 squared to get 18. Now, typically we don't really care how this is wrote, but because it's MyMathLab, it does care. So we need to simplify that. So if we come over here to the side, the square root of 18 is the same as 9 times 2, and 9 is 3 times 3. So there's my pair that's going to come out. So distance equals 3 square root 2 as our answer. Now, one of two things. One, I can check to make sure I simplified right. If I do the square root of 18, there's my decimal. And 3 square root 2, there's my decimal. So I can see that it is the exact same number, just wrote in different forms. This is considered simplified. This is good more really to know by decimal. That if you plot these 2 points, they are roughly 4 1/4 units apart. Okay, and that makes more sense to us than 3 square root 2. But I think MyMathLab wants the radical form. So part B, do the exact same thing. Here is my x1, y1. Here is my x2, y2. So substitute it into your formula. We have distance equals the square root of x2 minus x1. So minus the -4 becomes +4. Plus 0 minus the -3 is going to be 3. So put that all in. We get 153. 153 might look like a prime number, but it is not. I can tell I can divide this by 3 because 1 plus 5 is 6 plus 3 is 9. And so if this adds up to something that's a multiple of 3, it's divisible by 3. And actually the same works for 9 as well, because you add those all up and it adds up to 9. I know I can divide it by a 9. So let's divide by 9. We get 17. So 17 is a prime number, but 9 is 3 and 3. So this is 3 square root 17. Now we can do our 2 things here. The square root of 153 and 3 square root 17 those are equivalent. And so that we have a better understanding, these are about 12.37 units apart if you were to plot those on that coordinate plane.